I'm going to talk about one of my khal scripts, one of my calendar scripts. KHAL is the command line application that I use here. And so I have 3 scripts that I use, and I'm a pretty basic calendar user and not very complicated with my calendars. And I use Nextcloud, my Nextcloud calendar, and I use khal. And then here below I use, you see I use VDeer Syncer to sync all that up. And you may be asking why, what is the point? Why even use a command line calendar? It's basically because I don't like the GUI calendar and like pick the time and pick the date and you have a little drop down menu. It really bugs me. And this seems more efficient to me, or it is more efficient because I can just only be prompted on the categories that I care about and just leave everything else alone. So it's nice and clean. And I'm just right there on my command line, and I add in my calendar entries or add in my reminders, and it's nice and quick and clean. And so you, of course, will want to look at the man page for khal. It's KHAL once more. All of these are the long options. They're preceded by 2 dashes. So that's a little unclear because in the man page it just lists them there. And here is my config file right there. So however you need to format that. I did initially try to do a 12-hour clock instead of 24-hour, and then I later realized it's more efficient to do 24-hour, and that way you don't have to type AM and PM. And also, I couldn't get the 12-hour to work properly. All right, so this up top is my main function. And it's a function because I run it twice. We'll come back up to that. So first off, we start by I'm prompted. I use the read command, and I've got the flag EP. E means like basically I can edit it. I don't know if that stands for something, but basically I can edit it, and P means prompt. So we've got a prompt there, and then that's put into a variable, and I show the calendar, and it's the current month plus 1 month in the future. The date, there's the date input, the date format that I need to have, start time, and early on I think I was doing dumb things like adding PM and AM. So if I add AM, I just omit it, because then that's going to be the same, of course. 10 AM is the same as 10 on a 24-hour clock. And if I do PM, I'm going to say, hey, no, what are you doing? Get it right. But I don't think I've done that in a while, so that was just something I put in because I was not doing well in that category. End time, location, reminder, and then I run this main function up here. And so let's look at the main function. And so if the start time that I put in is 1 character in length. So I'm going to do the start time, and I'll just put, let's say it's an event that starts at 9 a.m. I'll just put 9. I want to have to input the fewest digits possible because I'm putting in calendar entries all the time, and I want it to be as efficient as possible because it's something I do regularly. So if it's 1 digit, then we are going to append the proper format on the end of it. Or if it's 2 digits, such as 10, we're going to, add that it's a whole hour thing. And so what this is here is we've got this variable where I put in a digit, and we have the hashtag there to show the number, and it's going to be, and if it's 1, it's going to be 1. It doesn't start with 0 or anything like that as if it were an array. It counts it. And then the same thing with the end time. You're going to add this onto the end of it. That way I don't have to type. If it's something at 9 a.m., I have to type 9:00. All right, so for the date input, I don't do month and day on separate prompts because that's just not as natural for me. So I'll do, let's say if it's April 28th. Today's April 28th. I wouldn't put that in. April 29th. 4/29. I'd type that in, 4/29. I'm dating this video by saying that. Okay, so what this printf is going to do is, let's say, so for the month, let's say the date that I put in is 4/29. It's going to take the first part, that's the cut DF1, which is the month, which is the single digit 4. And if it's a single digit, it's going to pad it with where there's going to be 2 characters total, and it's going to pad it with a 0 in front. So it's the correct format for khal below, KHAL. And then the same here. Now in this case here, I'm doing 4/29. So it's just going to do 29. It's not going to add a 0 at the beginning of 29. And so that's the benefit of using printf there. And here we've got and so here's the deal. If I just hit enter, so I'm down here and we've got where's the date? There's the date input. If I just hit enter, then I'll leave it blank. So if it's a non-zero value, then I need to format it as needed. If it's a 0 value, meaning I just hit enter, I just get the month and then the day. Just like that. Next, we get the current year. Then we get the current month, and then we get the selected month. So if the current month is greater than the selected month, then that means that I selected a month in the next calendar year. So let's say it's December, and I schedule something. I add something to my calendar for January or February. Then this is going to check as the current month is greater than the selected month. That means I need to add a year to the current year. And now we check, okay, did I mess something up? Do I need to retype my event? Do I need to change the date or the hour or whatever, or the reminder? And so this is where we'll run it after. Here's where I put in the reminder and the location. So we checked, is all of this correct? Now I did read P and I wanted to do a new line. So that would be the way to do a new line there. It's a little bit, there's a lot going on there, but that's the way I knew how to do it. Where it was functional. It's not necessarily pretty, but it was functional. All right, so then we'll use this here in a minute, this option of whether I'm happy or not with what I put into the calendar. And so here I've just got the possibility of 2 calendars. So if I run my script with the S flag, for me that means shared. Then, so if the first positional parameter is an S, then that's successful. And that means it's shared. Then that means it goes to the calendar that I share with my wife. Otherwise, it goes to my calendar. All right, so this is the series of prompts. And of course, main, that's the function up above that we just went through. So if I hit Y, uppercase, lowercase, or just hit enter, then it means everything's good. And that means I would skip all of this. Otherwise, if I say in, then it is going to go to this prompt. And this looks a little bit confusing because I have the, I'm not sure, I don't know if the R isn't really necessary there. Shell check says, well, read without R will mangle backslashes, but I think it might work all the same. Not sure, but I'll put the R in there just to be safe. So I have a $sign and then single quotes for the prompt, and that allows me to put these new line characters in here. So this looks kind of confusing on the script, but the first option is the event, the second option is the start time, etc., etc. And then that records it as num. So obviously we continue and go back to the prompt if I accidentally hit a letter or something like that, or a number outside of the range. And then this range is going to correspond, the number I select is going to correspond to an array, an item chosen in an array. So we need to subtract 1. That way, if I select 1 on the prompt, it'll select the 0 item in the array. I just didn't want to do my prompt and have the first option be 0. And so that's why I subtracted that there, because it's a little more natural to start with a 1 instead of a 0. And so we've got the entry and the entry variable. So I put all of the categories in my calendar into 2 different arrays, the prompt text and then the prompt variable. And then I run my read commands. So right here, if the number equals 2, so what we need to do is we need to go to the start time here, which is 3. And so remember, we had subtracted here, so we need to add 1 back here. So that means that it's the start time. So then I'm prompted with the start time. And then what that's going to mean is, well, I very likely am going to want to edit the end time because I just messed up on the start and end time. So if I messed up one, I'm going to mess up the other. So that's why I've got this if statement here, because the number was 2. That means I had selected the start time, which is 3. So remember, I subtracted. And then I need to add 1. And then now I'm going to be prompted to update the end time. Now, if I were to just hit enter on these, then it's going to keep the variable the same. And so that's pretty easy. Let's say I messed up the start time originally, but not the end time. Then I can just hit enter on the end time, and it'll keep that number the same. Keep that end time the same. And then once again here, we run this main command where, up above where we talked about earlier, where we process all of the input and that sort of thing. And then here we just have our khal command, and it puts in all these variables. Here we've got the different flags, the flags of my choosing. And then after I run this command with all of my variables, it syncs it. And so then I use vDirSyncer to sync it, and that connects with Nextcloud, as I mentioned, and then I also have DAVX5 on my phone, and so it all syncs with my phone as well. And now this doesn't obviously this doesn't take care of everything in terms of my calendar usage. Every now and then I'll want to duplicate some calendar entries, and I have a lot of duplication and that sort of thing built into my reminder script. But if I want to duplicate something, I just go to the GUI interface in Nextcloud and duplicate it. But or if I want to delete something, I'll delete it in the GUI interface. It's just it feels a little bit tedious to have to carefully select with the mouse with the date and the time, and so that's why I like doing this. Why don't we give this thing a spin? Event cut the grass. And I'm going to make that today, so I'm just going to hit enter, and we're going to do 15 o'clock. That's 3 p.m. to 17 o'clock. And then my house. Reminder, 30 minutes. Ooh, I better get there fast. I'm going to start at 3. Okay, so there's my calendar. I'm going to cut the grass. It's at my house. That's today, April 28th, 2023. And I got 30-minute reminder. Is this correct? No. Select an entry you want to edit. We need to zoom in here. And let's do the event. How about the event? Let's cut the grass and pull weeds. Cut the grass and pull weeds. There we go. And this would be really unlikely. Let's say, oh man, I'm going to have to work till 6 if I don't finish up with making videos. Is this correct? No. So let's do End time. End time, yeah. End time. And we're going to make that 18 o'clock. Cut the grass and pull weeds, my house. 15 to 18 o'clock. Reminder 30 minutes. Is correct? Yes. All done. So I really like using that. It's great. I hope this was interesting for you. Of course, your feedback is welcome. And any thoughts about the script or ideas for improvement or anything, I'm open to it. I like the open sharing of ideas.